Hello, everyone. This is Rahul Khosta with Altudo. I'm really excited to invite you to this webinar on how to leverage market insights to drive winning digital strategies. Joining me on the webinar are two folks from the industry, Krishnan and Ron. I'll quickly introduce myself and let them introduce themselves. I'm Rahul Khosta. I'm the CEO of Altudo, and I'm also managing Similar Web India, which is where we partner with them to bring strategies to market. And besides my role as CEO of Altudo Customer Experience Agency, I'm also co-founder of Critique, and I've been consulting with a variety of brands. Over to you, Krishnan.
Hey, thanks, Rahul. I'm Krishnan. I take care of products, analytics, and acquisition marketing at Redbus, which is part of the IB Book Group. And I have around about 10 years of experience in consumer internet. And I'm currently responsible for content. Yeah. Over to you, Ron.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure being here. My name is Ron Pick. I'm the VP Marketing of SimilarWeb, a global market intelligence company. My job is to work with our fabulous customers and marketeers around the world, helping them drive competitive intelligence to win their markets.
Thank you, Ron. So I'll just do a quick introduction of Altudo, and we partner with SimilarWeb in India. Altudo is a global digital marketing agency. We really focus on one-to-one experiences. We believe that all experiences need to be data-driven. So we bring data to drive experiences, and experiences must be intelligence-driven. So when I think about customer intent and not just focusing on your own direct measurement insights, but looking at broader insights, gives you a full view of strategy to really inform your customer experience, customer acquisition strategies, and so on. And our services are across marketing, experience, and technology. We're located in 5 countries and service brands with these capabilities. So getting into the specific power of market intelligence and how it can really inform your strategies as you as a marketer think about how you want to acquire more customers, understand the competitive landscape more, and win, you need to start to really think about how you can use market intelligence, because you're constantly finding ways to optimize your performance. I bet you look at perhaps if you have Google Analytics, your email marketing analytics, CRM analytics, you look at these direct measurement goals and you're looking at how you can improve things over a period of time. And so you start to get a good sense of what's working when you have access to your own data and you optimize it. But what's also important is to look around you to see what are your competitors doing, because your performance is relative to your competitors' performance. So if, for example, in a market, you've just increased traffic by, say, 5%, whereas your competitors increased in that same time period 10%. So perhaps that is the performance may not be as great as your competitors. So it's very, very important to not only look at direct measurement, but also look at broad comparative analytics and competitive analytics to get a better sense of how you can optimize your strategy and actually win. And market intelligence is still in its infancy. So while a lot of executives still use experience and they use advice to make decisions, organizations who are highly data driven, they generally win big. And what we're seeing is that with digital becoming sort of pervasive, we're not just digital marketers, we're actually marketing in a digital world where the users are mobile, because users are using devices all over and actually being mobile with them. In India, we have over 350 million users now using mobile devices. So digital is continuing to grow, and nearly all research is digital. So even something like soap, most 55% consumers, believe it or not, search for soap online before they buy. So all research is actually becoming digital, and this whole notion of market research is now evolving, right? So these are trends for market research. They've been declining, but as big data is increasing as a trend, we're seeing that data-driven intelligence is the future. the old way of market intelligence and marketing research is actually going away, and it's being you know is being now supplanted by digital intelligence. And as you think about as a marketer, what can you truly do with market intelligence? There are a few things you can start to think about. You can start to find rising tide. So you can look at your market size. You can see what the growth in that market is, what your engagement is. You can definitely stop flying blind. So you can start to benchmark against your competitor. So you know what are the new entrants coming into your market, what your competitive strategy should be. And then you can start to plan for data-driven growth across the customer journey and when whether it comes to SEO or PPC and so on. And then also when it comes to the last mile, you can drive better conversion using these strategies. So as a marketer, as you apply that, applying it within your organization, first you need to understand, you need to benchmark your competitors, you need to track, so you need to monitor against what's happening with your competitors and in broader sort of segment oriented competitors in the marketplace. And then you can plan your growth strategies as you better understand and track against your competitors. Over to you, Ron.
Thank you, Will. So a little bit about SimilarWeb in what we do. SimilarWeb is first and foremost a market intelligence platform that enables you to do exactly some of the things that Raul has mentioned. So who we are, first of all, we help marketers gain insights to get those winning advantages over their competitors in their market. So it's basically, in a way of looking at it, it's like having access to competitors' Google Analytics, right? You can basically peer in and to see their metrics and then compare it against yours to see where the opportunities lies. And these are some of the metrics and some of the points that we show in the platform. So moving on ahead, Similar really provides insights to any website, app in an industry or market. So our if you will, our key advantage is that we have this huge data set of all these websites and apps within the market. We cover over 80 million websites worldwide and 4 million applications in almost 200 countries. We scrape every day 350 million keywords across several search engines. We have a unique classification engine to categorize websites so that you can find all the relevant websites in specific categories that you want to benchmark against. And we also have a very unique display offering with over 4 million ad creatives, both video and HTML, so that you can see, for example, what kind of creatives and campaigns your competitors are running. We look at Similar really as a platform that is solution-based. So apart from our core, if you will, our core market, which is marketeers, right? Marketeers and marketing divisions within organizations. We also have other solutions that are more tailored for people who want to do research, for example. So if you're a large organization that wants to enter a new market, you want to build a marketing strategy, we could actually show you different funnel analysis of key top players in different industries, really this solution basis for research. We also work with and have a solution for sales teams. So we often find that people leverage SimilarWeb data to qualify lead lists, right? To build a lead list and say, well, I want to understand what kind of traffic this potential lead has. And so we have dedicated solutions for sales teams to enrich their lead data. And lastly, but not least, also investor teams. So if you think about it, if you're an investor, a hedge fund, private equity, or any investment firm that has an investment portfolio, and you really want to see key players in specific markets that you want to source deals from, we have the unique solutions that allow you to source those deals from the platform. And these are unique solutions and unique products for each category. So we're really at the core of it, we're a measure of the digital world. We have one of the most largest and robust passive panels in the world. So we collect data from over 400 400 million unique users worldwide. And what really sets us apart, I think, is two different things. First of all, it's multi-source data, and what that basically means is that it's different types of data we collect. What strong key point to our data that is really an advantage over other platforms is what we call learning sets, right? So we have over 1 million learning sets to compare. These are direct measurement learning sets that we can say, well, this is the estimation of the traffic we think it has. Now let's look at what it actually has and see where we're off. So our estimations and our algorithms are always being compared to actual real world websites, and that gives us a clear advantage. And like I said, over 80 million websites worldwide, so it's really can punch in any website or app into Similarweb and get data from. We're trusted globally, used by top publications. Here are some example. We have thousands of daily users who get. We have on our website at Similarweb.com. You can actually go and download one of our free kind of products to trial or test out some of our data, and we get thousands of users every day doing so. And obviously, we work with some of the largest companies in the world. Here you can see, for anyone who's really into search, Rand Fishkin, who's a top persona in the search world, leverages our data all the time for insights and reports that he puts out as well. All right, moving forward, even Jeff Bezos mentions this all the time in his quarterly reports. You know, I don't know how many of you know that Amazon actually owns Alexa.com, which is also a similar tool, but it's interesting to see that every time he references us instead of Alexa, which we think is pretty funny. Some of the countries that we have data for, like I said, we have data for over 190 countries worldwide, mobile and desktop. So we really give you granular data of how, because data looks like different in each country, right? So you have a website, within its own country, the demographic and breakdown of channels looks different than it does worldwide. So how does Similarweb help marketing teams win their market? First of all, if you're a marketing executive, right, we reveal competitor strategies to find the best growth opportunities, really from a high level. If you're a marketing executive, we let you identify competitors and what their user acquisition channels are. We help you improve the effectiveness of your marketing strategies, right? So whether you're doubling down on search, display content, or partnerships through affiliates, we let you know where you can find those opportunities. If you're doing content, right, if you're producing content like many people do, we let you identify the trends and topics of what's being popular amongst specific industries or your competitors, and really allows you to track the behavior over time to really uncover the trends and what top channels you should be focusing on. One of our top customers, The Guardian, uses all the time to analyze their performance against other publishers as well, and we work with some of the largest publishers in the world. If you're from the SEO content team, we allow you to increase quality traffic to your site by revealing what the successful SEO strategies of your competitors. So what keywords are they shifting their demand for, right? What keywords are they strong on versus where you're not getting traffic on? We let you understand what kind of intent keywords or what the right keywords are based on where your users are in the funnel you want to focus on, and what the trending keywords are based on our global panel. And then we also let you see, for example, where the traffic from each keyword is headed to for any website, right? Well, I think which is key, because you may have keywords that don't drive a lot of traffic and then don't trickle down to the bottom of the funnel. You can see within Similarweb, for example, what keywords are driving the most traffic. Funnel. Let's move on. And then some of the, oh shit. So you can see one of our top customers here showing that he uses us for his SEO and SEM strategies. Let's move on. So if you're in affiliate or media buying teams, we let you build, grow, and monitor partnerships by discovering which affiliates work best for your competitors. So you can discover which websites are driving traffic to your competitors. You can evaluate the potential value of every website based on the reach engagement of each affiliate, and reveal which website audience and demographics have the same interests as yours. So you can discover sites with high relevance to your offering by category, market, or keywords, and compare the share of voice of each partner against your own competitors, right? So really understanding which affiliates would offer you the best opportunity if you partner with them. And then obviously, if you're working with a lot of affiliates, how do you minimize fraud with visibility to your affiliates' ongoing links? MGM, one of our biggest partners, actually uses us for all these things. So MGM is a travel company based in Nevada, in the United States, and they find partnerships for both the resorts and some of their other hospitality products by working with partners. If you're in the PPC or display teams, we let you better direct and spend by seeing where the competitors are spending their media budgets on. So where are your competitors actually placing most of their budgets? You can discover which keywords your competitors are bidding on. You can view competitors' ad creatives, including PLA ads. You can understand which publishers and ad networks your competitors are using. And you can discover which competitors are messaging promotions by revealing their ad creatives and landing pages. And view ad creatives across desktop or mobile. And then AppMex, which is which is a very large bank that uses us for search engine marketing to basically optimize their paid marketing tactics. So what makes Similarweb unique? First of all, we're industry standard, stamp of approval from over 100 Fortune 100 companies. We have the most reliable data. We're a marketing suite for all types of marketing teams, basically an all-in-one platform. We have one of the world's most sophisticated classification engines. It's used by other organizations that want to classify websites, so we really are ahead there. We've got global coverage. We cover mobile, app, and desktop. And these are insights from real users, not just a small panel of users that are queried. It's a big panel. And we have an excellent SaaS platform and APIs, and robust APIs if you want to integrate our data into your own platforms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron, for that overview of Similarweb. And in the context of truly getting to market intelligence, Similarweb is really the market standard now. And marketers and business folks and different groups in the organization use Similarweb to really drive a variety of use cases across benchmark competitive positioning, identify keywords as we saw in some of the slides before, looking at new partnerships in terms of who's going to your site, who's going to your competitors, where could you partner and get more traffic, what's happening with social and YouTube, for example, in terms of driving traffic to your site or your competitors. How could you improve your website content? What content's being consumed more of your competitors? What is being consumed less? How is the audience segment shifting? So what are the different types of audiences coming to your site, and what are their interests so that you can target them better? And you can really start to then drill into the digital strategies of your competitors so you can outcompete them. And beyond just the digital strategy, beyond just the website and web, you can actually drive into app performance as well. And you can start to see mobile apps and how they're performing, so that ultimately you can drive more conversions and be more successful. So Ron covered, we started off by really positioning market intelligence and saying that, look, you need to go beyond direct measurement. You need to look in a competitive way if you have to win. Similarweb, in just that overview, provides probably the best market leading capabilities to allow you to help that. Now I'm going to walk you through some examples of actually how you can execute that. So as a marketer, as you're thinking about what you can do around market intelligence, perhaps there's a variety of use cases that come up, but perhaps they can be categorized in these three. So you can benchmark against the competition and understand the competitive landscape. And once you do that, you can start to understand market demand. So you can start to see in your segment, what is the real demand? What is the audience really looking for? What are referral partners doing in terms of where you could get traffic? And then you can start to optimize your customer acquisition strategy. So you can start to look at the channel mix of your competitors to see what they're doing. So who's investing more on paid, who's doing better in organic. You can then start to see how are they driving conversion, and then you can also start to see on your own website how are you competing with your competitors. So across these three areas, if you were to see benchmarking against the competition, let's say if you have a competitor out there and they get, or perhaps even you yourselves get 23 million visits over 3 months. Is that a good outcome or a bad outcome? So if that's a discussion in a marketing review that you're doing internally, that might be a discussion that you're looking at data and you're saying, well, is that good or bad? Well, it's all relative. So in this case, Voot does get 23 million visits over from Jan to March 2019 over 3 months. But what's relative is that MX Player is absolutely killing it, right? So they drove 179.32% change. So they are actually rising, whereas Voot is losing market share. So while visits, and if you were looking at direct measurement, that would have been okay, and you might have been growing your traffic. But if a competitor is growing at that pace, you have to ask yourself, what can you do to optimize your strategy to win? And then you can also start to see how market share is changing. So in this case, what we have are a bunch of developers, leading developers in India who, some of these you'll be very familiar with. So in this case, what we see is that from October to December 2018 to Jan to March 2019, there's been a shift. So Loda Group's percentage has actually grown quite a bit. So it's gone from 1 to 21%. So it seems that they're eating into the market share of Godrej and Prestige, right? So they're increasing market share against their competitors. But what's also interesting is that in that same time period, their bounce rate's gone up. So what might be happening is the traffic coming to their site may not be as relevant. So whether it's Loda Group or Sobha or Godrej or all of these competitors, as they're looking at their site and their acquisition strategies, they can start to see how their percentage of market share actually is shifting. And with those shifts, who has better engagement and better conversion. So ultimately that would drive revenue. And that revenue might be offline, might lead to leads, and leads will be converted into hopefully, folks buying properties and such. But ultimately the traffic coming to the sites, that has to be converted into leads. If the bounce rates are high, that's probably not going to happen. You can also start to look at apps and performance. So if you have a mobile app, if you want to see what the install penetration is, downloads over a period of time, you can start to capture those trends and see how you're performing versus competitors and who is really performing the best. So in this case, the instant personal loan app is performing the best. And so you can start to actually peg yourselves against them to see how you can do well. So as you start to benchmark your performance, you can then also start to understand broader market demand. So to look at broader market demand, if you're an airline and you see a few airlines listed at the bottom, so you can start to see the search volume. And this is data you can pull out of SimilarWeb and actually model in your BI tools. And you can start to see for various destinations what the performance is. So you start to really understand if that search volume then will correspond to actually conversions on sites. So if you can start to understand what that search volume looks like, then you can start to optimize your strategy. So in this case, GoIndigo has high search volume for Singapore as compared to their competitors. So if you are one of the competitors and you want to go after that space, you know who to look at in that space. But also this gives you a sense of what the market demand is. And if you're a property developer and you want to see where the traffic is coming for different locations and different, say, projects for cities, in this case, Bangalore for Sobha is driving a high percentage, and for Godrej, it's Pune. So if you are a competitor to those two, you can actually go in and actually check that out. and actually make decisions on how you would actually optimize your strategy. Also, you can start to look at demographics and you can start to see what are the shifting patterns. So for example, in this case, among genders, so for female, there's been a shift where there's been a 5% increase in overall traffic share. So if you're marketing, you can start to really think about who you would target and how you would target to them and what messaging you would use. So in this case, as you see the shift happening, perhaps your messaging needs to be optimized as well. So if you benchmark the market, you've understood demand, then you can start to apply customer acquisition strategies to actually win. So in this case, for example, if you're Indigo, SimilarWeb can help you identify what is the broad, what is the amount of traffic that you can actually get to your site as compared to your competitors. So there are 596 referring domains. There are over 41,000 non-branded search keywords, and there are over 8,000 paid non-branded search keywords that can potentially send traffic to you. Obviously, you're not going to get all this traffic, but that gives you a sense of, okay, what is it that you're going after when it comes to acquisition? And then you start to study your channels. So what you see here is a few airlines and how their channels are actually functioning. So direct gives a sense of popularity. So Go Indigo, for Indigo Airlines, we all know how fast in the Indian market, how fast they've actually grown. So we can see that the direct traffic is fairly high. But what's also really good, important to focus on is the organic search and how different players are performing, and then start to look at paid. So clearly you can see Indigo has a very strong paid strategy as compared to their competitors, as well as SpiceJet is pushing on paid as well. When it comes to referrals, interestingly, Air India is getting referral traffic. So if you're a competitor, you can start to look at these channels and see traffic trends, and then you start to see how the trends are going. And actually, then you can start to look at variety of data. So traffic share, visit duration, pages per visit, and bounce rate. So in this case, bounce rates of, for example, Air India are pretty high. So they're starting to get more traffic, but the bounce rates are going up as well. So while they're getting more traffic, people are leaving the site perhaps because the content or the information is not relevant. So understanding channels allows you to then optimize your overall strategy towards driving conversion. And then you start to really look at what drives different patterns. So if you're looking at monthly visits to your site, in this case, we're looking at a variety of OTT players, so Eros Now, Z5, and so on. And you can start to see there's different patterns of traffic. So if you are a competitor to Z5, what you'll be asking yourself is, what happened here? What was this huge jump in traffic? We're talking about millions of visitors, right, in a very short period of time. So using SimilarWeb and Google search, you can actually identify what that is. In this case, is a particular show that drove that massive increase in traffic. So you can go and actually look at pages in SimilarWeb, and that becomes a very good use case for you to see what are competitors doing and what's driving their traffic. What is their product? In the case of OTT players, the product are their shows. So you can see that particular product drove that traffic. If you do a simple combination of a Google search around that date, or actually drill into SimilarWeb for that time period of a month or so, and you can see what is shifting that change in traffic. So again, that helps you understand what's driving a competitor's strategy so that you can optimize your strategy. Another area that's quite important for different players, in this case, again, going back to travel, we want to know how you can identify potential partners. So if you're an airline, which meta site should you partner with? So here you can see Skyscanner and Kayak are driving traffic towards, some of it's going to Go Indigo, which is blue in color, some to Go Air, and then we're seeing Air Asia is getting a lot of traffic. So if you're a potential, if you're a competitor, you may want to look at these two sites, perhaps Kayak and Skyscanner, and see what are the total number of visits they're getting, and what is that volume. In this case, Kayak gets a lot of search, and actually start to then monitor ongoing traffic for a competitor to see where they're getting traffic, and then start to build relationships with those referral partners that can drive traffic to you. So this is an example OTA. It applies to e-commerce every day as well. But it could all, if you're a publisher, it could apply to other referring sites. So this applies to almost every business, because there's, besides Google sending you traffic, you are getting traffic from other sites. So understanding that and defining a strategy for that will help you drive more traffic to your site. And once you understand how to get traffic to your site, then you can start to drill into what can you do to sort of optimize for keywords to get traffic to your site. So in this case, these are fairly large companies: Aditya Birla, ICICI, and SBI. So in this case, for mutual funds, we can see SBI. If you're a mutual fund company, I would imagine the word mutual funds is very important. You can see that SBI is getting the most amount of traffic for that keyword. So that's where they're winning. And you can actually go and drill into different into the pages, etc., as well, that are driving the traffic. But what's interesting to actually look into is for all these keywords, who's getting the most amount of traffic, so that then you can start to see how can you actually compete. So if the volume for that keyword is high and a competitor is getting more traffic, that's probably a keyword you need to think about with your content strategy, your SEO strategy, to actually win with. And initially, you might have to use paid to go after that keyword and actually perform. And then you can start to look at search engine marketing as well. So you can start to look at different keywords driving different position of your competitors. So in this case, India Lens, what are the different PPC programs that they're running in terms of and their positioning, and what are the pages where you would have the landing pages going to the PPC keyword, so to drive the traffic. So looking at that can help you really optimize your strategy with paid. So as you look at different strategies of keywords, I think it's very important to understand. I think what we end up seeing is sometimes customers are very happy looking at getting traffic on this site, but they have to really drill in a little bit more. In this case, like Ralph Lauren is saying, well, they're getting a lot of traffic for the keyword Ralph Lauren. Obviously, they get a lot of traffic, but when it shifts to sort of non-branded keywords, which is quite important to think about, such as polo shirts for men, they start to lose traffic to Amazon. So it's important to take the full breadth of view. So non-branded keywords is where the focus needs to be, because branded keywords will start to drive traffic to you over a period of time, and that's a lot easier than going after non-branded. So in this case, polo shirts for men, that's where you want to compete and win if you're Ralph Lauren. And then once you start to understand how to bring traffic to your site, you can start to say, well, how do you optimize your website to drive change? So if you're a competitor to AirAsia, you want to see what's really happening on their website. As we saw in the channel analysis earlier, they were performing pretty well. So in this case, you can actually start to drill into and see what's trending on their site. This percentage change over a period of time tells you that they are running some campaigns, perhaps. They're running promotion programs. So we know that to Malaysia, there's been 186.45% increase for this particular route, Kolkata to Bangkok. There's been a large increase. And then you can actually look at the specific pages where they're driving traffic. So you can start to understand which routes are driving traffic and how and what their overall strategy is, to then go back and optimize your own strategy. So social traffic is also of particular importance. When you think about what's happening with Facebook and YouTube, and that's driving nowadays, video is driving a lot of content. All marketers are trying to come up with video strategies. In this particular case, you can see India Lens traffic from social is skyrocketed, and they've done a particularly good job. And you can start to actually drill into where that traffic is coming from. So in this case, Facebook and YouTube is driving a lot of that traffic. Then you can actually go into SimilarWeb and start to see what is that specific YouTube video that is driving traffic, and how can you actually optimize your own strategy and learn from what they're doing. You can also start to get into more granular things like conversions on the site. So in this case, if you see what's, with the IPL, it's been hot over the past few months. So Hotstar's traffic's been soaring, and you can start to see that their login sign-ins have gone up 200% over a period of time. And they've conversions for payments is actually down a little bit, but you can start to see that they're actually increasing, versus Sony Live is actually, it's going down. So this is over the IP, we ran this over the IPL time frame, and there's been a huge increase in Hotstar's conversion. So more people are signing in, so that's hopefully means more revenue for them. So another use case you could think about is if you're a brand and you want to know the purpose of your website. And I have this conversation with clients all the time where they're saying, well, we have a website, we have, e-commerce sites where we really distribute our product. So if Bose is distributing their product on Amazon, so what is the purpose of our site? Should we be spending more on our site? And what's the purpose of, driving conversion there when everything's on Amazon? So when you start to get a full context of customer experience, you start to understand the interrelationship of variety of sites and how conversion actually happens. So in this particular case, customers who actually visited both Amazon and Bose.com, the product page perhaps, they're 6 times more likely to buy on Amazon. So that gives you the importance of Bose's own website, because Amazon does a great job in positioning content and product, but the experience around the product is perhaps better positioned by Bose on their own website. So what consumers are doing, and this may relate to you, that you may go to Amazon.com and you may go check out Bose's own product there, and then go back to Amazon to actually purchase it there. And that's very important for Bose to understand that interrelationship across the customer journey. So we covered 3 specific areas, and there's a lot more you can do. There's very specific industry-oriented use cases. So in the case of variety of different industries, we looked at travel, we looked at property, financial services, how they benchmark, how they understand market demand better, and then ultimately how they drive acquisition. So hopefully this gave you some ideas around what you can potentially do. And a really good example of who's executing that particularly well is iBibo. And I'm going to actually hand over the the presentation to Krishnan from iBibo to kind of walk you through how well they're doing and how they use SimilarWeb to actually execute their own strategy. Over to you, Krishnan.
Thank you very much, Rahul. Hello, everyone. As I stated, I'm Krishnan. I take care of products, analytics, and acquisition marketing for Redbus, which is part of the iBibo group. And if you don't know, Redbus is not just present in India. Redbus, first of all, is the largest online bus ticketing platform where you can purchase bus tickets to travel from any city to another city. And beyond India, we are present in 5 other countries. We are in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Peru, and Colombia. Of course, when we wanted to enter countries apart from India, there was a lot of discussion on how do we enter, what are the factors which we would look at, and all that stuff. And there was a bunch of macroeconomic factors that we looked at, but most importantly, the market entry strategy. Rahul, if you just go to the previous slide, looked predominantly at whether a particular market is an OTA-dominated market or an operator-dominated market. So an OTA is an online travel agent like Redbus, would show a lot of keywords skewed towards OTAs, OTA brands, while an operator-dominated market will show a lot of keywords skewed towards operators or routes. And that's something that we first look at when we evaluate a market. But beyond evaluation, it's also important when you enter a market to formulate a strategy to win there. And that is something that this analysis stands us in good stead. And apart from that, what is more important is what is not there. For example, if SimilarWeb reports pretty low volumes of keywords in a very evolved market, that means that there is a huge prevalence of ads. And that's something, and that intelligence is something that's very, very important for us to formulate our strategies. Now with this, if we move on and we assume that we are entering a market where you have a couple of incumbents, then you can use SimilarWeb here to understand how these competitors pan out. And this is something that we actually did for one of the markets. In fact, all the slides that you see are analysis that we did when we just entered a market to understand the market and win it. So this particular market is an example where there are a couple of incumbents. You can see competitor 1 and competitor 2. And the question that we asked was, how strong are these guys in terms of loyal users? How much of a household name are these competitors? And the way you answer it is to look at how many branded organic keywords do they get in search between these two. And that's something that SimilarWeb can tell you. In fact, what you see there in terms of search visits is the total keyword volume between these two guys, the branded keyword volume between these two guys, which means that they've got so many searches on their brands, which means that these are loyal users who are either coming back or people who have actually probably seen their advertisements and just searching for their brands. These are users who are hardcore users of the brand. Moving on, you can also flip the question and ask, how good are these guys in getting new users in the market who typically come online and just search for a travel between a source and a destination. These are what we call non-branded keywords or generic keywords, and as a brand you need to be strong in them, as Rahul pointed out in one of his examples. That's because you need to get a lot of traffic from new users who do not necessarily search for your brand but also search for use cases that you serve. And suddenly here you see that the brands are very different, because in the previous slide you have seen that competitor 1 had a 30% TOMA, while competitor 2 had a 70% TOMA, reflected by the percentage of brand searches. While when you look at the new markets or the new user market, they are pretty much even Steven, which means that going forward, if competitor 1 is going to gain market share on generic keywords, he is expected to observe competitor 2 at some point in time. And this is something that equips you with a lot of intelligence to understand and attack these two incumbents in the market. And this is something that's extremely important for you as a new entrant to understand how the dynamics between these two guys play out. Moving forward, it's not just this. You can also zoom in and see how these guys are getting traffic. In fact, this is very similar to one of the slides that Rahul showed you in terms of traffic mix. So this traffic mix is just between the two incumbents in that market, and you will see that the conversion rates, you can infer from here that the conversion rate for competitor 2 is most likely to be higher than that of competitor 1, essentially because he has got a higher proportion of his traffic coming from direct. He has got a lot of paid search. Please do understand that on the top you have the percentage chosen, which means that all the bars that you see are the percentages of the traffic that the site gets. And this clearly tells you that competitor 2 gets a huge chunk of his traffic from direct and paid. And assuming, applying common wisdom that paid traffic is largely optimized, it's very highly likely that competitor 2 with a huge TOMA is likely to get a direct traffic, a lot of direct traffic, a higher proportion of direct traffic, and he's also playing it really well in paid search. This is the guy you need to zero in, right? Moving on, you can also delve deeper into this and reconstruct the kind of transactions or the number of transactions that these guys are getting, essentially because the generic keywords. You can look at the total market volume size, and this is something very, very important. The number that you see there, right, is the kind of playable market volume. Again, something that Rahul showed, wherein he said that the total visits that you get is kind of the sum of the keywords that people are searching on, and that kind of gives you the market opportunity when you look at it. And so here you see that the search volumes per month are around about 1 million, and you see that there are two incumbents, and you see that incumbent 2 has a slightly higher CR than incumbent 1. And you can also reconstruct the transactions, because now you can actually delve deeper and look at the kind of generic keywords he's landing, and with that you will know the kind of intent that each of these keywords have, and hence if you're already present in another market in travel, you will be able to impute CRs and kind of reconstruct the traffic picture. So you can pretty much understand the market in graphic detail even before you enter. And now once you have entered, right, once you launch, if you move forward, Rahul, you will see that you can get a generic keywords list that your closest competition is landing traffic on. Then that means that you can devise experiments first in paid traffic to understand and shortlist the kind of keywords that you need to go after, which give you good CRs, because you have, as I stated, a gut feel of the kind of keywords that give you conversions. You can verify that in that market by running short paid campaigns, draw your own short list of keywords which look promising, go after them madly with organic, look at the app picture and try and convert these guys into into your app as well, which is very, very important, because by this time, with the amount of detail that you get in the market, you would have understood where your strengths are as well. But more importantly, even from the keyword perspective, when you start playing in the market, and when you keep using the tool to understand where you stand vis-a-vis the competition, it's going to also tell you where you are very strong and which keywords that you're strong in. And that kind of helps you understand why you are strong in these keywords. Maybe that there are a lot of references for you externally on these keywords. Maybe that your own interlinking is far better. Your landing pages are far better, essentially because you have unique content in these. So it gives you an understanding, or at least a thought to understand why you are strong in certain areas. Again, we kind of use that. We very quickly found that we are pretty strong in apps. And what we started doing was we started accumulating a lot of traffic on mobile web using quick SEM experiments and converting them into app traffic. And if you move on, you will see the picture that emerged in this market that I'm talking about with Redbus in a couple of years' time. And what you see as the blue worm, the dark blue worm, is the Redbus's market share of this market that we entered a couple of years ago. In fact, 2.5 years ago, by the time the timeline in this graph starts, we had just taken over the second competition, and it took us more than a year to take on the first one and beat them to it. But here we are currently. So this is a real life example of how the tool can actually stand in good stead all along, right from your decision to enter the market to monitoring your competition, keeping a close watch on them, and seeing where you stand vis-a-vis the market. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for the time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Krishnan, yeah, thank you. I mean, those are fantastic numbers, and I think what I gathered from your presentation was, having a very strategic, sort of focus towards understanding what competitors are doing when you enter a market, understanding, from a keywords perspective how they're performing, and really going after their market share strategically by using sort of competitive analytics tool, and in this case, use SimilarWeb, can drive very strong outcomes. Obviously, the pat on the back is due because you get the data. Anyone can get the data. SimilarWeb provides great data, but you utilize that well to drive outcomes. And SimilarWeb is also getting very more sort of driving more recommendations, and is more than just data. It's providing insights that organizations can use to drive outcomes. So congratulations. So with that, we're at the end of the webinar. We'll open it up to questions. Are there any questions for the three of us?
Yep, we have quite a lot. So I've taken the liberty of rephrasing some of them and combining them into more logical sequence. So we have the first question. This is from, okay. The first question is, hi, I'm a performance marketer for a CPG brand. What are the top 4 recommendations you can give me for improving my acquisition?
Sure. Why don't I take that one on? So if you are a brand, you certainly want to know broadly if you're like, we looked at Ralph Lauren. So you want to know broadly, when it comes to keyword searches, what is the sort of the volume of keywords that can come to your site? You want to know how your site is performing in terms of KPIs. You want to know engagement on your side. You want to know your engagement with the competitive sites. But also, you also want to know the broader ecosystem. So if you're Ralph Lauren, you want to look at Amazon and how performance of your particular product is on Amazon and what conversion looks like there. And also that interrelationship that we saw between Bose and Amazon, how that drives conversion. So in terms of KPIs, you want to understand, traffic, you want to understand engagement. So time spent on site, pages per visit, bounce rates are very important because it's about relevance. And then obviously understanding a third party, what's driving conversion on a competitor's site. Next question.
Yep. So this one is related to searches. How can one increase direct searches without paid strategies? So I think Ron or Rahul, you could any one of you could actually pick it up.
Sure. Juan, do you want to take this one?
So the question is, how do you increase direct searches through paid strategies?
Without paid strategies. So what essentially
without
what
paid
they're asking
strategies.
is, yeah,
Oh,
for
I see.
how to
Yeah.
improve
So-
your organic searches. Yeah.
Right. So one way is naturally to focus on actually a good content strategy, right? So direct traffic, even search volume can be affected by how you get your name out, how you produce content that later produces interest and intent. Having a good content strategy that you can later distribute through partnerships or relationships tend to trickle back to increased brand searches and brand clicks. That's my suggestion.
Okay. The next one is, I'm from a B2B magazine which is related to cargo and logistics industry, and I sell ads for the same. So that's an interesting one. How can it help me as a salesperson? So essentially what he's asking is, how can the platform allow me to identify properties which are worth selling ads for as a publisher, and how can it help me as a salesperson?
Ron, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So I think that's where the power of a platform of SimilarWeb really comes into play, because you can basically look at any form of classified marketplace. You can see how much traffic they're getting. You can see the unique metrics of basically what the quality of traffic is, and not only that, but also things like how can I partner with this marketplace, with this classified or whatever the option may be. You can see, for example, what ad networks they're working with, or what affiliate platforms they're working with. So using a platform like SimilarWeb, you can really uncover those types of things.
Okay. Next one is, and I'm combining these questions together. How is SimilarWeb different from Google Analytics?
I'll take that one. So SimilarWeb is different than Google Analytics because, first of all, Google Analytics is a measurement. It's a direct measurement of your own website, right? It's your own traffic. Whereas SimilarWeb is a platform that gives you insight into your competitors' traffic. So a way of looking, as I showed in my presentation, or a way to think about it, is it's like having access to your competitors' analytics or other websites' analytics. That's the way they differentiate. Second of all, it's important to also say Google Analytics is a direct measurement platform, right? There's a pixel on your website. Every website visitor that comes in is counted and logged. So it's very empirical, right? SimilarWeb is an estimation platform, meaning we do not have, or SimilarWeb does not have a pixel on 80 million websites across the world. The way we work is that we have a large panel for which we collect the data from, and then create estimations based on our large panel. So SimilarWeb is an estimation platform, and it should be looking the ways of offering estimations of how much traffic or a website or an application has, and not empirical against Google Analytics. I hope that answers the question.
Yep. Schema is useful in SEO. Yes, it is. Schema markup, ads for top search engines, including Google, Yahoo, Bing, Yandex. They started collaborating to create schema.org. It's important for Hummingbird and RankBrain updates. So yes, Sunil, yes, it does. It is very useful in SEO. Now, the next question, and this is a good one. What are the top KPIs CMOs should present on marketing dashboards, considering we now have so much information available?
I can take that one. So
Yep.
ultimately it starts with your business objectives, right? So if you are looking to drive acquisition. As a marketer, you want to know, you want to look at KPIs around getting traffic to your site. You want to look at KPIs on the quality of that traffic, like how much time, is spent on the site, how much content is being consumed. So linked with bounce rates. So you want to look at those definitely, so that you can start to see, the amount of traffic to your site coming to your site. Also, how long are people staying, and how much is converting. So that's for yourselves, but also for your competitors, because the starting statement that I made in this presentation was really around looking at competitors, so that it's a comparative, it's all relative what you do. So if you are getting more traffic and your competitors are getting less in terms of a trend, then that's great. So looking at those KPIs, but then keeping competitive analytics. So one of the things we do is we create these dashboards where a client can see their KPIs, but you can also bring in competitive KPIs and start to then actually make better informed decisions around how your business is performing. And all of these are hopefully linked with business outcomes, because ultimately that's what you're trying to drive, whether it's more conversions, more engagement on the site with content, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so we're down to a final 3 minutes. We'll take maybe 2 or 3 more questions. So the next question is, what are the top items we should track for our competitors to be able to capture their market share? That's a good one.
Yeah, Krishnan, you want to take that one on? I mean, because it's a very broad question, so it might be interesting to make it more specific towards Krishnan.
Sure. So can you come again on that, please? The question.
So let me actually combine 2, which are more relevant for you.
Sure.
What are the top items we should track for our competitors to be able to take the market share? And what are the top trends in the travel industry? So you could take any one of them together.
Right, sure. Okay, so the top things for the competitor, well, there are many. First thing is that what is he strong on? Is he strong on mobile, or is he strong on desktop? Again, if it's India, it's most likely mobile. Then you'll have to look at whether he's strong on the mobile website, or is he strong on the Android app, which means that it typically translates to what is the total market share of Android that your competitors have vis-a-vis what you have. So that's something that you need to keep track of all the time, because it kind of gives you where you stand vis-a-vis your competitors and how you trended. Very importantly, if you're doing a marketing campaign, then it's absolutely necessary to understand your daily trends, how your downloads move, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, the first thing that you would want to see in terms of sizing your competition is what is your competitor strong in, which channel is he strong in. That's number one. And once you figure that out, if it's app, it's going to be a completely different strategy. If it's mobile web, then you go analyzing whether he is strong because of his brand, or because he's pretty good in SEO or in paid. In other words, what's the kind of keywords that he's targeting, and how is he targeting them? Is he pretty strong organically, and he has a wide net of organic keywords which land him traffic, or is it that he has a highly successful PPC campaign that's running? So there are different layers of onion in this. You start from the channels, you start looking into what channels, and then start looking into details of each of these channels. But most importantly, I mean, one thing that I really like is the dashboard feature in SimilarWeb. You can actually build your dashboards that can keep changing as you monitor your competition, because initially you might want to just have an understanding of what your competitor is strong in. So you'll have a dashboard that kind of gives an overall picture, but as you go deeper and as you run marketing campaigns tailored to grab market share from your competitor, you will start, you will figure out you will need dashboards that talk specifically to a problem. So yeah, I mean, broadly, these are the metrics that you would analyze vis-a-vis your competitor. The second part of the question was, sorry?
Top trends in the travel industry.
Top trends in the travel industry. Definitely, I'm talking about ground transport here. Definitely a lot of movement towards mobile. A lot of movement, in terms of bus, a lot of, importance to quality, because bus industry has over the past 3 to 4 years in India come into the so-called mainstream, where people kind of no longer look at a wayside agent to book a ticket in an unknown bus, but look at amenities that they get, the kind of services that they get. internet penetration, that's a humongous trend, right? I mean, the kind of bookings that we got from tier 2, tier 3 cities, even just a couple of years ago, is very different in the post geo period, where the tier 2, tier 3 penetration has improved tremendously, and hence that also has brought into into the gamut the regional transport corporations. So essentially, even the rural folk, the guys in villages and small towns, do understand that they can get information on internet, and that most likely they can get their information in localization. So to just sum what I said in the last minute, largely India is moving towards non-mail, non-metro, non-millennial browsing habits. So the new users who we see these days coming in every day into the internet fold are the non-millennials, which means that they are the slightly older population, not necessarily just the younger ones. They are from non-metros, and most importantly, you see non-males. You see a lot of women coming in the internet as well. I hope that answer helps. If you have anything specific, I can delve in.
Thank you so much, Krishnan. So we cannot have any more questions, gentlemen, and our audience. Yeah, thank you so much for joining in. If you have more questions, we'll be reaching out to each of you in the next, say, an hour or so, and you can actually ask away. We'll make sure that the panelists answer your queries. Thank you so much once again.